Bam.
Hi, this is Seneca Scott on the Break It Down show. Peace, everybody.
Yeah, man. That's what we do. I love the era that we live in now, where folks they can gather an audience, whether it's in a community, on a show like mine, or anything it is, and we can touch our worlds together. I got deep Oakland because I was born in Oakland. My dad lived in Oakland. I grew up running around the A's stadium. My dad worked at AC Transit right across the street from the Coliseum,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay, nice.
yeah, and I'd walk my ass down to International, and get comments as after the game. I'd show my dad wouldn't even know I was coming because I'd just get on BART and hop off, and I all kinds of funny things happened in those days. But that's not the Oakland that I know anymore. When I see Oakland now, it makes me sad. Look. There's plenty of parts of Oakland that are nice, right? But I see so much, and I think we agree on this. I see so much bad execution of policy, bad ideas brought to the table that get through, and everyone's like, no, everything's great here, but everything's not always great. So I love that we can talk about these things openly and share ideas and try to work on what we all want to see is a happier, healthier, safer Oakland.
Absolutely. Well, it's not a good ways right now in Oakland. We're going bankrupt. Like you saw, we just had our credit rating drop, not 1, but 2 points. We have a special election where no mayoral hopefuls are presenting clear-cut solutions except for people who don't have a chance to get elected. So it's not good. Not a good time.
Yeah. What's Oakland good at?
What's that?
What is Oakland good at?
Oh, you mean the people of Oakland?
Well, let's go people and the government. Like, let's cover both sides of this thing.
Oh, nothing. The government's not good at anything in Oakland anymore.
Yeah.
We have one of the most ineffective governments in America. We haven't come back to work since COVID. So I don't know how much you know about Bay Area politics, but San Francisco had an audit maybe 6 to 8 months ago where they busted a significant number of employees moonlighting in other jobs. I can tell you for a fact from putting out feelers and fake hiring posts just to see who would apply. I've caught many City of Oakland employees applying. Now, it doesn't mean that they're trying to moonlight, but when you reach out and actually talk to them through questions, some of them have all but admitted it. So it's really interesting. If San Francisco had a situation where they had a dragnet and caught a lot of people moonlighting, you could only assume similar will happen in the city of Oakland. So, and there's a economic impact of not having city employees by the hundreds downtown going to shops and coffee shops and eateries. And so now you have all of these surrounding businesses have been impacted with many of them closing. Some of these businesses been in place for 20, 30, 40 years are closing their doors now because they don't have access to their main clientele, which was City of Oakland employees who aren't coming back to work because the unions don't want them. Now, when you're on the consumer end or the voter or taxpayer end, and you want to, let's say, talk to someone in the planning department or building department, even when you get your Zoom appointment, the camera's not off. Like I can see you right now. I get more out of that than City of Oakland. And when you say, "Hey, can you turn your camera on?" They're like, "Oh, we're not required to do that anymore. It's a privacy issue." Like what? Like what is this? So it's bad. Everything goes broke, and that's what's happened to Oakland.
Yeah. Oakland and Vallejo kind of walk lockstep into this thing. Vallejo went bankrupt a number of years ago, and they still really haven't. Look, I'm not going to say they're as bad off as they were then, but they still have a similar kind of problems. Not enough police. They lost their entire police force, right? They had to lean on the sheriffs to cover their gap. Vallejo is hugely diverse, like Oakland is. Vallejo has a ton of music in its history, just like Oakland. But both these places struggle to get things right. Vallejo's been kind of like Jack London Square. Vallejo has been up and coming for as long as I know that, as long as I lived in California, which is my whole life, right? It's always been the place that's coming. And a lot of Oakland has been like that too.
Mm-hmm. Well,
why? Yeah.
It's bad government. But if you're talking about the effects of bankruptcy and on your public safety in particular, look at the medical retiree benefits that are cut in Stockton, Vallejo, and was it San Bernardino, whatever down south. Um, it's a big cut because the pensions are protected. So you can adjust pensions, but it's a lot more difficult. But medical retiree benefits are always on the chopping block, and you're going to lose more people if that happens. So it's a bad situation, and yeah, man, I can't. This is what the doom loop looks like. If all your businesses and all your revenue goes away, you don't have any money to pay the bills. And revenue also is taxes that people are paying on their property values. So if your property values are plummeting and you have enormous commercial real estate vacancy and businesses are exiting and you're pretty much blackballed from big box stores and you have no revenue plan and you've lost your sports teams, where's the money going to come from? And so now we're in a tailspin now. It's bad.
Alameda County's biggest taxpayers are all government institutions.
There you go. Well, Alameda County has money. They're not.
The county does, right? But when you look at their number one tax base, there isn't a large corporation that's an anchor. Like a lot of other counties have, right? It's universities, and look, there's money there, right? But Oakland doesn't have that benefit. They have Laney, they have mills, but these aren't giant revenue generators, right? These are small institutions, right?
No, they don't have this. I mean, here's the thing. We do have a huge revenue generator in Oakland. It's called the Port of Oakland.
What?
And we're not nearly using it to its full potential. If you've been following the coal saga, instead of making money from that, we're in expensive lawsuits that we're going to lose, probably on the lower end of $1 billion lawsuit, still being $200 million judgment.
Right.
It's just such bad things Oakland's facing. And I can't stress this enough. They were warned. I went back and looked at when I ran for mayor in 2022, I went back to look at a Laney College debate, which is on YouTube. And I went through all the points I spoke. I clearly warned people. That we needed to have a city controller. We need to have accountability of our finances. We were going broke. We need to pay more attention to public safety and fully staff our police force to avoid overtime. We need to get off of the consent decree, the negotiated settlement agreement, which is creating enormous inefficiency in our police. And they knew. Everyone knew. And then if you take this election cycle, the media conspired to hide our budgetary issues until it was too late. And so, it's not good, man. I'm really upset about it. But what can you do?
There's a lot of things you can do, right? Let's talk about. Let's not just cover negative things. Let's also talk about what do the Oakland people do well. What are they great at?
Oh, the people in Oakland are beautiful. The neighbors of Oakland are the best kind of neighbors. I'm sorry, that's why this part. I usually wear sunglasses in my Gotham studio. No, but the neighbors are the best, man. This is why we fight so hard for the city. Is that we do have, very educated, very intentional, very kind, warm neighbors who are being failed. Here's how you know that's true. If there's no rule of law in Oakland, and we are effectively on the honor system, we should have a lot more crime than we do right now, but we don't because we're good people. We have a beautiful city to live in. I mean, it's one of the most breathtakingly gorgeous cities in the country, and it still remains so because a lot of the city is not. Deep East Oakland and parts of West Oakland and the Flatlands are Mad Max, but the hills are still kind of pristine. There's a stark juxtaposition, and what's even more interesting is that the district, in particular District 1, votes against both recalls and votes the most progressive, while District 7, Deep East Oakland, votes 77% for the recall of the mayor and 70% for the recall of the DA, effectively meaning the affluent, all-white or mostly white districts who claim to be progressive are blatantly ignoring the voices in the community that are voting dramatically different, all while claiming that they care about the agency of these people. So the progressive movement, and I put it in air quotes because they're not really
Mhm.
progressive, it crushes itself under the weight of its own contradiction. And all of the accusations that they levy against us, the people who were trying to call them out, are actually confessions. So what the good news is that Oakland people are cool. Beautiful city. We're close to everything. We're close to wine country. But we've been hearing that for years. We're going to turn the corner, and it's not happening. And now we're faced
Right.
with bankruptcy, which sets your city back. There's nothing you can do. The bondholders control your city once you go bankrupt. And the elected officials have very little control over the money, which means it's very hard for them to produce or push any type of agenda, even reformative, which means that you're stuck in a situation of if you can't attract more revenue, then this is bad. But if you can't get public safety under control because you can't attract revenue because you're bankrupt, you can't, and because you cut the medical retiree benefit, right? The police don't want to work here, and no one's going to work here
Right.
without that deal. So it's a bad situation. We've got ourselves in a really bad spot, and I don't quite know how we're going to get out of it. I know you
Yeah.
want to
And
positive, but I can't make anything up, man. There's not much positive.
well, no,
in
there's a
Oakland.
lot of good things about Oakland, right? But there are a lot of deep problems. I mean, 15 years ago, Oakland PD has had that banner on the side of its building for as long as the building has been there that they're hiring. And sure enough, people will go there and they'll get in, and Oakland has to hire. And so they hire cops, and they're like, how fast can I get the hell out of this town and go work in some other place? Maybe even Piedmont. Do Piedmont and Alameda, do they have similar problems? Are they kind of swamped by Oakland's bad policy?
I mean, the crime does affect Alameda, but their budgets it seem to be a lot more solvent than ours. Their city's not nearly as crazy, and Piedmont is a little town and fully surrounded by Oakland, so they
Yeah.
have any revenue. They have a rich tax base because the people are affluent who live there, and that
Yeah.
provides more than enough money for all their services and things like that. So yes, but they are impacted is that they have to go through Oakland to
Yeah.
exit their homes and see all. I mean, and the home invasions have increased in Piedmont. Crime has increased around there too. Not to the extent as it does in Oakland Hills because they have their own police force, but it's still pretty bad. Um, it
Yeah.
doesn't look like it though. It looks really nice.
Well, and as you said, the flatlands are different than as you gain altitude. It's just a whole lot harder to walk around and be a problem up there because there's not that many ways out. And if you want to get away, it's easier to do it. It's just easier to do it down in the flatlands.
And then
How
the
has
homeless encampments.
yeah? Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. How has the homeless situation improved or worsened over the last, let's say, year? Because a lot of help came into Oakland recently.
They've been kind of like trying to play more whack-a-mole lately,
Hmm.
but they're not moving anyone out. They're not enforcing laws in the books. The RVs are not exiting. We doubled our homeless during the eviction moratorium. The whole point of an eviction moratorium was to stop a homeless crisis. But Oakland's homelessness doubled from 2020 to 2022. What does
Hmm.
that tell you? We have a
Yeah.
drug tourism problem. And the reason we have a drug tourism problem, and not just Oakland, but San Francisco, is actually very simple. Drugs are subsidized in the Bay Area. I don't know who's subsidizing it, but I do know that the cost of drugs per dose is half here than it
Hmm.
is in Vegas or surrounding cities. So if you can get drugs for $1.50, $2 per dose, which is a very small amount to get high, and it's $5 or more in Vegas, which is still a small amount of money to get high, but it's still more. And I can get all a check from the city and all the services to the homeless get. I'm well on my way to a self-sustaining habit due to harm reduction policies that
Yeah.
again have created this death spiral, this doom loop of drug tourism and unchecked RV camps and all of this stuff. So that's gotten a lot worse. And until we actually enforce RV camping laws in the books of 72 hours, they don't leak out emissions. We're going to continue to have the vehicle fires, the RV fires, the open air drug market, the illegal dumping that's everywhere in Oakland. The illegal dumping crisis here it's shocking.
It is.
And I pointed out on my platform all the time on X, just walking through with a little selfie zone and follow me just to show you
Mhm.
like how bad it looks. But you have like hundreds of hot spots around the city where people are dumping tons of trash. And this happens because we have no rule of law. So the homeless crisis, it's gotten from 2008 when it started, which was then a crisis of born from affordability, and 80% of Oakland's homeless were Black and brown people who went homeless in the neighborhoods they came from. That's not even nearly the case now. You look
Yeah.
around, it's just the United Nations of drug addicts and these homeless enclaves, right? Everybody's coming here from everywhere in the world. And I do mean that because it's the land of milk and honey, milk and fentanyl, I'm sorry, for addicts.
Yeah, milk and fentanyl. That's true. Again, I know a lot of people like you do from Oakland, and a lot of them have, even that they're still in the East Bay, they've left Oakland because it's just like, I don't want to live in this level of risk. They all have had their cars broken into. A number of them have had their cars stolen altogether. A whole business I know of, just they're like, hey, we're just going to stop being a business. It's, we're losing too much money and all these other things. People breaking in. It was a trade company, and there was too many break-ins, and they just couldn't stop the break-ins. And where are you going to put an industrial yard like that? You're going to put it out, by West Oakland, and it's like clockwork. Like every 18 months, someone would come in and break in and steal things, and they're just like, forget it.
Well, we
We're
had a
gonna go do
news
something else.
story. One business was robbed 7 times this year alone.
Come on,
That was in the news today. I mean, it doesn't
yeah,
stop. It's
yeah.
really bad.
What are response times like right now to 911 calls?
Oh, I mean, they're so poor that we should have already permanently lost our 911 funding. We were supposed to lose it in July, and
Right.
somehow we got a reprieve, but we still haven't really come down too much. So they're the worst in the state, and I believe they remain so. If you call 911 right now, you may get someone in 20 minutes.
Yeah,
It's not enough to
yeah,
respond to any life-threatening emergency. They could get there to outline the chalk around your body. You better
yeah,
be ready to self-help in Oakland right now.
yeah. I mean, look, I get reduction of harm. I want that to work. I get updating our criminal justice system so that we can have more justice in it. But this isn't working, man. This isn't the way to go.
Well, we have seen, here's something that's interesting. We have seen some slight improvements, but mostly because of CHP. Now,
Mhm.
in their political desperation, the failed progressives are claiming crime's down, we're doing our jobs during the election cycle, especially the mayor to save herself from being recalled. But crime's down because California Highway Patrol is doing what? All of the things
No,
that you stop your own police from doing via policy.
no,
So how hypocritical is it to celebrate, criminals being caught because they're being chased and pursued and caught when you have a no chase policy? And Gavin Newsom has implored the city of Oakland to rescind or vote away its no chase policy, which could be done again by city council action, and they refuse to. So they continue to push these police reform, progressive policies on our own police force, while celebrating CHP's success doing those exact same things. It's like,
no.
it's very frustrating.
When I fly up, I often fly into Oakland, and I'll take BART because I've got friends that'll pick me up. And I'm always curious about other people who are coming from the airport, where they're going, what they're doing. And I talked to a couple, it's probably just over a year ago, and the wife was visibly agitated, as we were talking, clutching her purse and everything else. And I was saying, this area, yeah, it's just some bad areas, but like any town, there's bad areas. And I could not get her to calm down, and she was terrified. And then you drive through. Well, look, you're on BART, and you start looking out the window, and I don't blame anybody for not feeling safe if they're from out of town
Oh
and not
man,
wanting
Bart
to
goes
go.
to the flatlands. You got to see it all. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's bad. Oh yes, and that's a
yeah.
shame because right under Bart, as you're going through 98th and Stanley, like all through Deep East Oakland and even West
Hmm.
Oakland as you're leaving, um, you get to go through some of the worst parts of the city, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's embarrassing.
Yeah. Is that fixable? I mean, is it can you still be a compassionate city that's trying to be humane and get better at these things? Or I don't know, is it really a doom loop?
Um, I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you be a
But
compassionate? Yes.
is it possible to have a positive impact, still be a compassionate city, still be a city that tries to be what Oakland tries to be, but can you accomplish both, or does the
No, we're
city
not
need to
trying to
focus?
be. We're not trying to be compassionate.
Okay.
How is
Yeah.
it compassionate to let people die of with that way of drug overdose and give them
Yeah.
the needles and stuff to do that, or
Right.
allow people to exist in such mentally ill, dire straits rather than compel them to get the help they need it, or allow people to live in these conditions that they're living in? That's not compassionate at all. And
Right.
so I do think that the compassionate angle would be to advocate that people with mentally ill or psychiatric needs are properly medicated, or that care court or whatever Gavin's talking about doing is actually done in a way that is meaningful. I think it's compassionate to uphold public safety laws that were meant to stop the spread of infectious diseases or any type of public health catastrophes, especially as we are floating with probably yet another. I'm not. The last pandemic was odd. I'm not one of the. It's a mixed thing. Yes, the globe had a pandemic, and they used it to make a bunch of people take stuff they didn't need to take, and the vaccine and a lot of medical malpractice happened, and probably Nuremberg 2.0. But that doesn't change the fact that a lot of people got sick and died. And so you can't have a bubonic plague again because we're having these conditions that we know we put these public safety laws in place for a purpose, and now we're just looking the other way under the guise of compassion. But it's not compassionate. What you're looking at is degrowth, it's the intentional and managed decline of our American cities. And frankly put, it's not an ideological stance. The ideologues are useful idiots of the foreign invaders, mainly China, but not just them, all of the BRICS and our good friends who want to see America taken out, because let's keep it real. We're in World War III right now. World War III is not kinetic. Doesn't look
Mm.
like you think it looks. It looks like ranked choice voting.
Yeah.
It looks like the NGO complex that always seems to have tentacles to endless money from China, like the Chinese Progressive Association, which funds East Bay Rising. And why are they headquarters in San Francisco and Oakland? You have two or three um, Chinese Progressive Association and other Chinese CCP adjacent nonprofits that spread and fiscally sponsor a tentacle of thousands, if not tens of thousands, of similar NGOs around the
Mm.
country, which use cookie cutter language and policy approaches from Portland, Oregon to Portland, Maine, and everywhere in between. And all of these progressive cities have the same type of DAs sponsored by Soros, and they all go in the same direction. They know this doesn't work. They're doing it on purpose. This is how China is taking us out, which is why we dodged the bullet in this last election with literally a CCP candidate. And as a post-partisan, I don't lean either way. I frankly don't like both parties. But if you're talking a lesser of two evils, the lesser of two evils, if you were up to poll, I don't think that that's the case. But it's clearly the more evil side of for the Democrats this time. These people are batshit crazy. And now they're passing laws that you can't have. It's bad, man. This is not what it looks like. This is not an ideological stance to help working class, or because if it were, why would you not care that the working class is getting their
Mm.
cars stolen or their businesses robbed, right? Like, you don't care about these people. You don't care about the conditions that we're forced to live in due to these failed policies. This is something else entirely. And we're not doing
Yeah.
ourselves a service by not calling it out. We've got to call it out every time we see it. We've got to call out this agenda and the fact that we are indeed in a war. We're in a war in this country for the values that made America what it is. And if we don't fight that war, and we can't even say what it is, then we're going to get outmaneuvered. And before we know it, a lot of cities are going to look like Oakland, California.
When I'm looking at KRON's election numbers, and the nine that they listed, the 9 Bay Area counties, I would say there's more than nine, but that's just me. There are 9 Bay Area counties, and they all pretty much, I mean, every single one went for Kamala Harris for president. But that's not a change, right? And that's kind of out of step with the rest of the nation. Why does this continue to be the case where, if these policies have failed so badly, why are we continuing to vote for the same ideas that are, at best, they're improperly implemented, right? And like you
But
said,
are
nobody
we
wants to be held
voting?
accountable. I don't
Are
know.
we? We have ranked choice voting? So
Yeah.
I recently recalled mayor behind me here,
Yeah, there she is.
who
Yeah.
hopefully will be going to jail soon. She won with less than 1/3 of the popular vote.
Yeah.
That's how we knew that she would be recalled. There's no ranked choice voting in a recall. So if you get it on the ballot and it's a 50-50 vote, and she only had 1/3 to begin with, she would have had to grow in popularity from the last election to be the recall election, which is the opposite happened, which is why she was
Yeah.
recalled. By pretty much, and the scary part is she kept that base.
She did.
She got that 40 or 30 plus people who
Yeah.
don't like a recall. She kept her base. Those people don't care. And where
I-
are they? In the gentrified areas.
Right, exactly. They're not out in East Oakland, that's for sure. What
Nope.
are you going to run again for mayor?
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah. Why?
I don't. No one's gonna give me enough money.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Are you?
You gotta have a certain amount. You gotta have enough money to play that
Sure.
game.
The other thing is the mayor, as much as we want the mayor to have all kinds of power, the mayor still is obligated to follow what the city council does. And the chief of police is, kind of has to follow what the mayor says, but the mayor can, and so there's only so much a mayor can do in several years. And then at risk, great risk of not getting elected, because if you create a lot of change, you create a lot of tumult's uncomfortable, and out of office you go.
Well, especially in Oakland, where we actually have a very unique system of government. I don't think I know another place that has our city charter. They say we have a strong mayor because Jerry Brown called it that when he pushed Measure X in 1998 when he ran. But we don't have a strong mayor. A traditional strong mayor has line item budget veto and
Right.
legislative veto, and our mayor has neither. So when and we have an even number of city council. So unless there's a tie to break, which sometimes doesn't happen, um, the mayor doesn't have a vote on most policies. So they do control the staff, but what does it matter if you can't control the budget? So
Right.
we have a system where there's no clear delineation of power in Oakland, and they like it like that. They all get to exist without any accountability, and what it's led to is, 20 so years later, a city that's on the brink of bankruptcy because no one actually had to stand up and own the problem.
Yeah, no one has to go to jail when their policy idea doesn't work, it's mind blowing. I mean, Long Beach thrives because they have a port and
Hmm.
they have the ability to run a lot of money through that town. And Oakland doesn't do that, and I don't understand why.
Because we have people who aren't qualified. They're used for idiots or puppets for the elites
Mm,
who installed them so they can get the assets distressed and swoop in and buy them all up, and when it was advantageous. I mean, that's one of the agendas that's happening as well. In addition to just in particular like I said before, the managed decline of American cities due to our ongoing conflict with China, and that's my hypothesis. I would love
mhm.
someone to prove me wrong, but I have a lot of supporting evidence when you look at these nonprofits and where they get their money from. What does that say? The
It says
safest
Santa
city in
Maria.
California. What am I going to do there? You guys don't really help. Yeah, you're good.
I mean, how long will you stay in Oakland, though? I mean, if it continues to be doom loopy, will you stay or will you go move to Tracy or somewhere else?
Um, I'm in it for the fight. I think that we've made progress in recalling the mayor, and
Mm,
it just took a Tony, and we didn't win everything, but we're slowly winning the hearts and minds. And if we get rid of ranked choice voting, we'll be able to turn our electorate around pretty quick. Now, I don't think we're going to be able to get out of bankruptcy, but maybe bankruptcy in the long term will at least allow us to finally have a permanent restructuring of our city's finances
yeah.
and stop planning to pay Peter to pay Paul or opening new credit cards to pay off old ones.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's time for us to get out of that financial death spiral, and maybe bankruptcy has to happen to do that. I don't want that to happen because, as I said before, the loss of your medical retirement benefits in particular will absolutely affect your
Yeah.
ability to retain and hire quality police.
Yeah. And why is ranked choice voting bad?
Because you can win without a simple majority. It's needlessly
Yeah.
confusing, It can't be authenticated. It uses a closed source algorithm, which essentially means it counts votes in public and private. And you can't do a manual recount. A manual recount of any major size ranked choice voting election takes years, and it's going to expensive millions of dollars. So you can't ensure its integrity. It's one person, one vote. You don't get to win with less than 1/3 of the popular vote, and it's just bad. Everywhere you have ranked choice voting, voter participation plunges. You've never had a place that's gotten ranked choice voting where voter participation increased. It always decreases significantly. So,
Yeah. Why would they have to have a closed algorithm to do ranked choice voting? Like, I mean, you would
because
think this is voting. They should use-
ranked choice voting is a Trojan horse Chinese Communist Party initiative to destroy American democracy.
There you go. Yeah. So if you have all these problems, like the port thing for sure, how do you fix the port? Like how does the populace
We
hey,
negotiate with the coal guys because they
Mhm.
already have us dead to rights because we signed that up anyway, and we let them ship the finite amount of coal they have. We take that money for the next couple of years and get the money from a lease. We invest more into our port and go all in on making sure that it's one of the top destinations to ship goods to and from in the United States of America. In addition to that, we need to lean into tech. We've got an AI wave coming. We have people right across our pond in San Francisco, in the Bay, who are leading people in the country on this AI emergence, and Oakland's getting none of this wealth. Why not? The people work here, those engineers, they live in Oakland, a lot of them. We have all of the talent to do the same things here if we had a government that it's all about the inefficiency and needless bureaucracy. Same thing we have nationwide, which is why we have to have a Department of Government Efficiency, right? We have to cut the fat. We have to get rid of people who aren't coming to work. We need to modernize. We need to do a lot of things to position Oakland as a future American city, but not a 15-minute city that benefits the elite and create this freakish neo-feudalism where poor people have no agency and their voices are politically stunted.
Yeah. I mean, it says something when East Oakland's like, get that mayor the hell out of here, right? I mean, that's, if you think about a part of town that is right there on the edge, you could do a lot better if they had policies that worked. And if Oakland could, instead of having businesses leave, have businesses vying to come there, East Oakland would boom. It would be great over there. There's so many wonderful people and families over there that just need an even shot. And at least by this last election, they don't feel like they're getting it.
Well, that's the dream. Hopefully, that's what we're fighting for.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's such a complex problem. When we look, I like to hold Oakland accountable because you and I both have seen Oakland in a better spot, right? And I'm saying Oakland, like the city of Oakland, the people of Oakland, how do you guys get going forward in the right direction? The city has lost all three of its professional sport teams. The Coliseum in general doesn't pull in the same kind of musical acts it used to. I'm not saying that nobody comes there, but it used to be the place in the Bay, right? For Day on the Green and everything. That's just not the case anymore. They go to San Jose and they go to San Francisco now as well. How does all of that, how do they encourage business to come there and say, look, I get the safety security thing, right? But you still got to market Oakland as like, hey, not only, are we safer than we've ever been, but it's a great place to put your giant event on in our Coliseum or in our arena. Please come here. How do they do that?
That place is dead. We just found out that one company backed out the deal to purchase the practice field.
Yeah.
And that company is a very, very, very reputable company. I mean, they are one of the top investment in commercial real estate. I mean, they're a sure bet in the stock market. And when a company of this reputation, because I'm not going to tell you why we're not going to do it, but we're not going to do it. You know fucking why they're not doing it. You know why they're not doing it. It's the crime. It's Oakland going bankrupt. Nobody wants anything to do with this city right now until we get these people out of government.
The old Malibu Grand Prix site, is there anything there that earns money? How long has it been since anything was there if it's not there?
How long has it been since what?
Malibu Grand Prix, on that same hunk of asphalt connected to the Coliseum, used to be a little go-kart place. And that place has been empty and derelict for so long. I don't think that just to the south of the Coliseum, over by where the hotels are, there was just this fun like video arcade little mini race car place. And once that race car place went away, I don't think anything. And it sounds like there's nothing there now. I mean, that's a whole giant, big enough to have a little race car track, right? And it doesn't sound like anything is there. Business just departs Oakland. It doesn't seem to want to come back. So not just people buying a stadium and having that fall through, but a hunk of land, it, right there by the stadium, and nobody can find a use for it that is going to provide money.
No, they're trying to develop it. We have AASCG who's been dangling, we're going to pay for the stadium, but they never came up with the money, triggering the contingency budget, which is the big deal here in Oakland as well. But no, man. Who knows what's going to happen with that stadium?
Yeah,
I have no clue.
yeah. The A's breakup is hard. Everybody, I grew up A's fan. I go to A's games all the time, but I saw them struggle to get any purchase with any part of the government anywhere in the Bay Area to get a stadium built. Didn't happen.
No, they were not. They co-opted the Howard Terminal Stadium deal. I know. I was running for city council during that time. I talked to a lot of people involved, and we could have we had a willing government who wasn't playing games like these idiots were. We would have had a stadium at Howard Terminal. And all that, we don't want to use public funds for stadiums, blah, blah, blah. Watch, AASCG was going to ask for public money. Every stadium asked for public money. And while it's a mixed thing, sports are important for you. If you're going to have to make a decision, are you going to have sports teams or not? What is the culture of your city going to be? And for a while, the culture of Oakland was the A's are a big part of that. The Golden State Warriors, the Oakland Raiders, these were part of the fabric of our traditions, of our rites of passages, and many things that enrich and enhance our community. And the fact that we've lost all of that, and then you talk about from a money standpoint, when we had all three professional sports teams, we were in the major media 300 out of 365 days a year, meaning that Oakland was always being mentioned in a positive light as a place to come do business. So you're able to attract more investors. And for a while, we were very, the rents were going up. We were finally turned the corner, 2012 to 2017, 18 or so, where things were doing really well. It's really tough to lease commercial space. But yeah, somebody just said you can't have a host. Exactly. That's a great point about the positive news, right? Because you have them being mentioned, and it's not mentioning crime; it's mentioning the Raiders or Oakland A's or the Warriors. And when you ask folks from the Bay about it, it's always the team's fault. It's always the team's fault, and it's never, Alameda County. It's never Oakland City Gov. That it's like, it takes all. Look, I'm not going to absolve all the owners and say that they were perfect. It takes but legs of this stool, right? So the fans have to be there to support. The government has to do their job and make this a palatable thing for the business. Otherwise, the business will be like, hey, we can go make more money in Vegas or 5 miles across the water in the Bay, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have to do these things, and so they do leave. And then all those people that come from all those counties to the Coliseum. If you put 50,000 people in the Coliseum for a football game, a lot of money just came into town. None of that money comes to town. And then what is my reason for going to Oakland? I can only go to Fenton so many times every couple of years. It's not very good. And you look at Yoshi's. Yoshi should have grown fantastically in the last 20 years. Oh, is that place still open?
Yeah, it's there you go, right? That should be that thriving, Jack London Square area that should be booming. And
it should be. It is beautiful. My office right now, I am in Jack London right now. This is where my studio is. And I rent a closet in here because the whole building's empty. And the owner is a good friend of mine. He can't lease it. Yeah. This is a primo location, and his former tenants kept getting robbed over and over again until they closed the businesses. And that's what's happening here.
Yeah. Yoshi's puts on events 2 times a night most of the month. So that place should have had to knock out walls and gotten bigger to get more people in there. But for whatever reason, we can't get enough business into Jack London Square and that
Oh,
entire little neighborhood right there.
yeah, it's bad, man. Well, but I like
It makes
Yoshi's.
no sense.
I've seen some great shows. I've had some friends come perform there. It's a great
Yeah.
venue. It's very intimate. If you do have someone you like performing at Yoshi's, just don't drive because you'll get the window
Mhm.
smashed maybe, but just get an Uber and
Yeah.
enjoy yourself. It's a great and intimate
Yeah.
venue to see someone who you like perform. So, and there's still a few restaurants around the area that are very good in Old Oakland. Maddie's Old Fashioned from Matt
Sure.
Horn, and a few others around that are open.
Yeah.
So, we're hanging in there. So you can still come to Oakland and have a good time. Just don't drive, just Uber.
How's the Fox Theater doing?
They had Dave Chappelle there like 2 weeks ago.
There you go. Right. So there's a lot of good things that do happen. It's just like you said, don't drive. Don't wear a nice watch.
but and maybe I like public transportation.
Mm-hmm.
But you probably can't buy it out. But whatever you do, don't drive and park your car.
What's the general opinion about AC transit? Is it a safe? Because it's one thing to be like, oh, it's more efficient, maybe not. But if people don't feel safe on it, they're not going to ride it.
Oh, but it's just no, it's a mess.
Yeah.
People don't feel safe on it. I mean, I'm an able-bodied single male. I go to San Francisco or the city or whatever, I take part, but even then I make sure I got my pistola. It's bad out there, man. It's not safe for the women and children and elders to be riding part. And that's a shame because students still have to use it. Many people still have to use it. And so they're putting themselves in jeopardy every day just to go to and from.
Yeah. And what about the buses? AC transit on that side of it. How are
I don't know much about them. I never rode them.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Then that's part of these things, right? Is we have these transportation systems, and people just don't want to use them, right? For whatever reason. I don't want to do it, and gosh, it's hard.
But why don't you like to use them?
Well, look, I don't live in Oakland anymore anyhow, but even when I did live in that area or drive through that area, my dad worked for them. It's just better to drive. And legitimately, when you're driving through Oakland, there's some parts of Oakland that I'd rather just drive through and not even, who's got time to take that thing? If you have a car, you're just going to take it. It doesn't cost that much more if you have a car and you have all the independence. You're not relying on a bus.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if you're a single mom, it's hard to feel safe on something like a bus. Even if it is safe, you don't believe it, then it's not.
Well, it causes you anxiety and stress. It's not healthy.
Yeah. One of the things that I often say about Oakland is it's a great place, but there are parts of Oakland where if you need help, it's not coming. It's just not there. And there are far too many places like that. What percentage of the city do you think fits that example of, like, if you need, the government to come help you, you're on your own. It's not going to be there.
Well, most of the city of Oakland is bad response time. Where is it where you're going to have those things happen with more frequency? Anywhere below the 580 sign I got behind me.
Mm-hmm.
Below the 580, for the most part, is the flatlands. You're in jeopardy down there. And above the 580, for the most part, in the hills, it's fairly safe. We've had that divide for generations in Oakland. The only difference is above the 580, you have seen the low-hanging fruit of petty crime has been picked clean in the flatland. So people are now climbing the tree to above the 580 in the hills to go take stuff from your garage, or the more crime is happening above the 580, but you don't have those actual conditions. So if you're actually talking about home invasion, it's happening like crazy. And it was, especially in 2023, above the 580, and they had no response time. So it was really scary. You had the news story where you had over 30-something Asian elders arrive in the span of just a few months in the hills. And you saw some of the video footage with them, getting walked around with guns to their head and stuff. They didn't have no response time down there. So like I said, there's
Yeah.
no rule of law in Oakland. You're on your own. You better be ready to self-help, and you better own a firearm if you're mentally stable enough to have one in your home. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend anyone have a gun around if they're suicidal, if they have any mental issues.
Sure.
But if you're in the right state of mind, you need to go get the proper training, and you need to have a firearm and be able to protect yourself, because the police are not going to be there to help you. They're not going to come in any amount of time to help you if something was to happen to you or your family.
What's the DA and chief of police's position and sheriff's position on concealed carry? Are they easy to get like they should be for a place that's dangerous like Oakland?
So
Or
CCWs are given to you by the county sheriff.
right?
And the county sheriff has given more CCWs in history. Yesenia Sanchez is the boss. Yesenia fooled everybody. Everybody thought that she was the more woke candidate when she was running against Ahorn. And she said what she had to say to who she had to say it to get elected. And the moment she got elected, she's probably one of our better county sheriffs ever. If you are qualified for CCW and you apply, Yesenia Sanchez will grant you one. That is awesome. We've never had that in Alameda County before. So people are absolutely getting concealed carry in Alameda County. Other people's positions don't matter because they don't affect your ability to get one. I can't tell you what the former mayor, former DA's position were on it. But I can tell you that the person responsible for granting them has been has been doing their job and helping people to protect themselves if they go through the proper qualifications.
But the DA does matter, because if something goes down, then you're worried about how they're going to prosecute things, right? And all of a sudden, the gun becomes a real problem if the DA is against these things. So you guys,
You're in California. If you
Yeah.
shoot somebody, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, I'll tell you this much. As a person who's had firearm charges and beat them and had my gun returned to me, which is a rarity, I don't have a CCW.
Yeah.
So I can tell you this much. If it's a good shoot, it's a good shoot. If it's a bad shoot, it's a bad shoot. Your status is not going to matter. Now, as long as that firearm is legally owned, you could be illegally carrying no CCW, it's a misdemeanor. If it even sticks. Right? It's not a felony or anything. So it's not even a very serious penalty in California not to have a CCW. So I wouldn't let that deter you if you're a person who, again, is a responsible person and you know yourself. You're not quick to anger, or you're not on drugs or alcohol or anything like that. I mean, there's a lot of qualifications to be a safe and responsible gun owner that you should take very seriously. The moment you have a firearm on your person or in your vicinity, you have made yourself less safe statistically. And the only thing that increases your safety and takes you over that threshold is your level of preparation and training. So it is on you to be properly trained and prepared. But if you're willing to take those things into account, which I think most Americans should consider, especially in this day and age, especially women, to protect themselves, because thinking that firearms are the great equalizer, and women are more than able to wield them just as effectively, if not more effectively, than their male counterparts. I think that people should take those options seriously right now. But just know, if you shoot somebody, you may go to jail. So make sure you were really, really worried about your life. So that's not something you're worried about in that moment, because you're trying to live and stay alive. And then you'll worry about the rest of that later. So if you follow that and you know the laws, you're pretty safe here. Oh, crap.
But like you said, 20-minute response times, right? You have to do something until that help can come. And so that is having a pistol available to even the odds definitely is a way to go about that. Because 20 minutes is a long time when you need help right now. A long time.
Hey, I've got to get going pretty soon.
Yeah, let me wrap this up. Okay, so everybody, this is Seneca Scott. How do they find you? I know you're on X if anybody wants to look there, but how else do they find you? And we'll wrap this thing.
You can just Google Seneca Scott. I'm easy to find. You can hit me on X. You can DM me there. You can look up Foundation of Oakland Unites or Neighbors Together Oakland and email us from either one of those organizations. And that's it.
That's it. All right, stand by. I'll come back and say goodbye to you, everybody.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it. Yep. Thank you.
No worries.
Down, audience. Thanks for listening.
Okay, I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Right here, you can subscribe. Please do that. It makes the show grow. Hit that notification bell so you know which incredible guest is coming up next. Down below is the PayPal link. You can put a small subscription in. That is an enormous help. All that money goes right back into the show. And then right up over here are the next episodes you should listen to, curated by yours truly. Thank you so much